the first lecture by who is speaking first actually? Pharmacologic concepts in newer antiplatelet drugs. Dr. M. Srinivasarao, consultant cardiologist at CARE Hospital. He is a senior interventional cardiologist, and we were together right from our Nizam's days in late 80s to now. And I request him to deliver the lecture.
And good evening, dear Chairman. First of all, I thank the organizers of SVS for inviting me to participate in this evening symposia. I also thank the organizers of this evening symposia. My talk today is about pharmacological concepts of antiplatelet in acute coronary syndromes. As we all know, the antithrombotic treatment is a cornerstone for the treatment of ischemic events and ischemic heart disease. And we know that platelets are the cornerstone for all the thrombotic events, and the platelets actually take the first attack when we try to attack the thrombosis in acute coronary events. And then the platelets get variety of stimuli by which they can actually get aggregated or stimulated, namely from what is called as a vasopressin, collagen, thromboxane mediated, ADP mediated, thrombin mediated, epinephrine mediated. All variety of stimuli can actually make the platelet active and get the thrombus propagated. What we want in our treatment aspects is good antithrombotic effect. At the same time, we would like the bleeding to be avoided. So we would like optimum volume of platelet inhibition without increasing the chances of bleeding. That's where we see in between sector where we avoid bleeding. At the same time, we would like to avoid the thrombotic events. These are the targets by which we can present day we can actually target the antiplatelet activity, mainly the thromboxane mediated by activity which is actually blocked by aspirin by inhibiting arachidonic acid conversion into thromboxane by COX, that is cyclooxygenase enzyme, and also the ADP receptors, which is the mainstay of today's treatment as antiplatelet activity, that is by thienopyridines and non-thienopyridines. And then these ADP receptors act to P2Y12 receptors, which is prunergic receptors. And of course, where thrombin mediated activity is also being targeted these days by a drug called Veropaxar. And then of course, other things like phosphodiesterase inhibitors. Now, if you look at the antiplatelet drugs which are commonly used are aspirin and P2Y12 antagonists. These P2Y12 antagonists can be broadly classified into thienopyridines and non-thienopyridines. Thienopyridines actually they block this ADP receptor permanently for the life of the platelets, whereas non-thienopyridines are reversible and they do not block for the life of the platelet. Then of course phosphodiesterase inhibitors are being also used these days as adjunctive therapy when increased thrombotic events are seen with the conventional treatment of aspirin and clopidogrel. But the role of antiplatelet therapy is not well established. Now, if you look at this ADP receptor, which is a main modality of treatment of antiplatelet activity, they are purinergic receptors. ADP actually links itself to the receptor on the surface of platelets by virtue of its ability to actually activate P2Y12 receptors, which in turn activate the cyclic GMP in the platelets, and by which the platelet gets conformational changes, and as well as it causes what we call aggregation of platelets. That's how thrombosis starts with the platelets at the white thrombus. Now, if you look at this cartoon here, now there is what is called ADP receptor. The ADP receptor gets activated by virtue of its ADP getting linked to the ADP receptor or the P2Y12 receptor. This is the main target of actually the antiplatelet activity these days, what we are talking about. And we already talked about these reversible, non-reversible P2Y12 receptor blockers, namely the ticagrelor and cangrelor, elnagrel are the reversible type of P2Y12 receptor antagonists, whereas the conventional treatments like triclopyridine, clopidogrel, prasugrel are irreversible P2Y12 blockers for the receptors of the platelets. Now, irreversible inhibition would mean that this site where the ADP gets gets deposited on the P2Y12 is blocked permanently by these receptor blockers like the thienopyridine, and it is blocked for the life, and it is irreversible blockade of these receptors. Now, the clopidogrel is the first generation of, is the second generation of thienopyridine after the taclopidine. Taclopidine was toxic, so nobody uses that, and then clopidogrel has been in review used for almost like close to about a decade, and then this is widely used, but unfortunately we have some problems with the clopidogrel because number one, it requires extensive metabolization, number one, and therefore it has got interference with variety of co-administration of drugs, and also there are several genetic subsets of population wherein the resistance to clopidogrel also is seen. It's a slow action, slow onset of action rather, and then it delayed cessation of action once it is stopped, which could be quite problematic sometimes. Now, the genetic pool, if you see, it is said that about 20% of the general population, we do not know the exact status in India, but at least all over the world, it is said that about 20% of the population are resistant to clopidogrel by virtue of having a genetic variants, mainly the CYP2C19 alleles. In these CYP2C19 alleles, there are several subsets, namely, we can see here CYP219-2 alleles, which are actually the ones which actually have problem with metabolism of clopidogrel. At the same time, if you see the bottom of this slide, which you see CYP219-17 alleles, wherein they make the metabolism very effective for the clopidogrel conversion into active metabolite, wherein it is the clopidogrel can be super active in them, and then it can provoke thrombosis, it can provoke bleeding when it's given in the conventional doses. So there is wide spectrum of variation about the genetic variants in the general population. About 20% of them, unfortunately, are resistant to its conversion to active metabolite by virtue of having the genetic alleles. When we come across these genetic alleles wherein they are poor converters into active metabolite, we could have, number one, the ischemic events much more pronounced, and also stent thrombosis much more pronounced, which is very deleterious in its effects. Worst of all, there could be also variants wherein it could be heterogeneous or homozygous. If they are homozygous, then it is much more pronounced as far as the resistance is concerned. Whereas if they are heterozygous, it could be still surmounted by additional doses of clopidogrel, like a double the dosing of clopidogrel perhaps, and also co-administration of silistazole, etc. But unfortunately, those people who are actually homozygous, their effects are extremely bothersome because the conversion into active metabolite is almost zero. And then, therefore, the development of prasugrel took place in the third generation of thienopyridine, and then this actually is irreversible blocker of P2Y2 receptors on surface of platelets. It's got rapid action because it's rapidly metabolized in the liver, and it doesn't have the effect of genetic alleles like what we have in the clopidogrel. Now, here we see in this slide, on to our right side you see the prasugrel, and on the left side you see clopidogrel. And you see that when we have the problem of the genetic variants, it is understandable by this slide, wherein a clopidogrel, when it is absorbed, there could be genetic variants in the absorption. The ability to somebody to absorb rapidly from the gut is also genetically, I believe, mediated, called as ABCD genes, which actually make certain people absorb this drug poorly, number one. Once it's absorbed, it needs 2 steps activation in its before it gets converted into active metabolite. So that's where the problem is. Number one, it takes a longer time for its conversion to active metabolite. Number two, it also possible because of extensive metabolism, and the metabolism also mediated by genetic variants. The genetic variants could actually make a particular person into poor converter into active metabolite. But unfortunately, the prasugrel, it gets absorbed rapidly, and it's converted into active metabolite into a single step, and therefore its mode of action is faster and is potent permanent inhibitor of platelets by virtue of blocking P2Y2 receptor permanently. And this is how you see, therefore, when we check the efficacy of these drugs by verify or light aggregometer that prasugrel, when it is given, it rapidly achieves 70 to 80% of the platelet inhibition within a period of 1 to 2 hours, and whereas clopidogrel takes longer time, even if it's given 600 milligrams loading dose, it often takes about 8 hours before it completely becomes effective in inhibiting the platelets. And those people who are resistant to clopidogrel, when the prasugrel is added to them, they actually become very good responders, and good inhibition of platelets, by virtue of 70 to 80% of the platelets getting inhibited, is very frequently seen. And we know that Triton-TIMI 38 trial, which has shown a very good decrease in the ischemic events, but with an increase in the what we call bleeding tendencies with the prasugrel. But then the subset of population which showed increased bleeding are those people who have got higher age, that is more than 75 years, and then low body weight of less than 60 kgs, and history of CVA in the past. If somebody had acute MI, an extensive antiviral MI, particularly for diabetics, and if the weight is more than 60 and then age less than 75 years, they had very good suppression of thrombosis with increased what we call increased benefit of decreased thrombotic events. At the same time, they also had lesser bleeding. But other platelet agents which are currently available, the Ticagrelor, is unique in the sense it is called as CPTP molecule. It's called cyclopentenyl thiazolopyrimidine, which actually blocks the ADP receptors, that is the P2 vital receptor, in a reversible way. It is not irreversible, it is reversible way. It is non-competitive as well, because it does not bind the same place where ADP binds to P2 vital receptor. It binds at alternative site, making the receptor ineffective in actually propagating from the platelet aggregation. And then it also dissociates after a little while, after its half-life is over, and then leaving the P2 vital receptor intact, so that the ADP can again cling to it and mediate the platelet aggregation. When you say that this has a rapid action and reversible action, and therefore when it is orally given, it's well absorbed. It doesn't require any metabolic conversion, unlike the prasugrel or clopidogrel, and it's the rapid action, and within 1 to 2 hours it loses its full action of 80% inhibition of platelets when it's given in a loading dose, and there's very little drug-to-drug interaction because it doesn't go in extensive metabolization in the liver. That's how you see a rapid action when it's given, and when it's stopped, it also ceases to act and then returns back to normal, the platelet activity, very soon compared to clopidogrel or prasugrel. Here you see again in this the three drugs, the Ticagrelor, the prasugrel, and then clopidogrel. If you see, the bottommost is the clopidogrel, which requires extensive metabolization, almost like 2 steps before it is converted into active metabolite. The middle one, the prasugrel, which actually requires 1 step of metabolic conversion into active metabolite with rapid action, rapid onset of action, and the Ticagrelor on the topmost, which requires no metabolism at all, and therefore its action is very fast, unlike other 2 drugs. Now, when you compare clopidogrel and prasugrel, the prasugrel has got rapid action and very potent inhibition of the platelets. When you stop it, prasugrel, unfortunately, the action ceases after a very long time. And then Ticagrelor, when you give, the beauty of this molecule is that it's got a reversible binding to P2 vital receptors, and therefore it's a rapid action because it doesn't require any metabolic conversion, and then it's a potent antiplatelet agent. It inhibits platelets to almost like more than 80% with the targeted dose. And when you stop this drug, the rapidly platelet activity returns back.
Srinivas, 1 more minute you have.
Yes, I'm finishing, sir. And then we have another 2 molecules like Ticagrelor, which is got a very potent antiplatelet activity. It's reversible and it is given intravenously. Unfortunately, the trials which have been done in Ticagrelor were not very well designed, and therefore it actually was dumped in the dustbin. But recently, with the BRIDGE trial, it's coming to almost like frontline again. And it's got a beauty is that action is very fast within 3 minutes, and then it's given intravenously, and when you stop it, within half an hour it comes back to normal, the platelet activity. And then we have thrombin, a receptor mediated action of platelet activity. And we have also molecules wherein this receptor is also being targeted. The thrombin-related receptor, its importance is because of the fact that thrombin is not only is a protein platelet aggregator, but at the same time it also mediates inflammation. It also known to produce vasoconstriction, and when you target this molecule, probably it can also act as an anti-inflammatory agent in addition to antiplatelet agents. And we have Oropaxar, which has been studied recently, but it's not been very successful in the study that has been recently published. Although it reduced the myocardial events, myocardial ischemic events, but nevertheless, this molecule did produce increased bleeding. So there is some dose adjustment that's going to come with the new studies with this molecule. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr.
Dr. Srinivas Kumar, for it was excellent review of the pharmacological concept of antiplatelet drugs.